We're here. We're very happy to be here at Ancestor House. Well, you don't know what goes on before we come on the air. And sometimes there's an emergency, which happened today. So we had to go through some extras in order to get on the air on time. It may have been a little bit late, but I'm so pleased to be here with you again. We reran some shows because a couple of us needed some time off, but we wanted to bring to you some of the best. Dr. Justice was on last week. And I have to say that she has inspired not only people who work with me, but other young people who needed to see that sister, to see a person who worked. She had certain gifts, but she went to school. She didn't waste her life. She started early in school. And then, although things happened in her personal life which were difficult, she went on. She went through it. She stretched. And in life, that's something we have to do. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it later. But today is going to be a put-together show. Our guest, unfortunately, had problems, and at the last minute, we had to throw some things together. So I said, I'm going to take this opportunity, to talk about my life's work and how I have used it to the best of my ability to bring something better to my life and to the life of our people. My father always said, do better for yourself. Not just you, do better for you and yours and the world. And that's what I've tried to do as an artist. So I'm going to pour libation, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to walk you through some of the work that I have done as a writer, as a performance artist, and try and relate it to our situation today, where our children are. Oh, that hurts me so much when I see the condition of many of our children. And where our families are, because, we're going to go to the bridge. Then when we come back, I'm going to pour libation. Then after libation, we're going to go to the images that I brought with me today. So Nat, if you're ready to go on to the bridge, take us to the bridge, announcing where is this? This is Ancestor House. We'll be back in just a minute.
We must learn and tell our story, heal the pain and raise the glory. Tell it. We must learn and tell our story, heal the pain and raise the glory. Tell it. Not to know the family story is bad. Not to want to know it is worse. For to pass on ignorance to someone is it's like passing on a curse. And it will curse your father, curse your mother, curse your sister, curse your brother. And every time you come close to one another, it will be there in between to separate.
Yes, we must tell our story. That's our power. Look around you. You see groups of people, organized people who tell every time you see them, they're telling something about their history, their story, what they're doing, and all of that. Why? Because it is power. It enriches you. It empowers the people who know who they are, and then tell everybody who they are. So we here at Ancestor House, that's what we do, and we started with always by pouring a little short libation. Now, libation has to do with power again. The power of my spirit, which comes to you on my words, and it's fire, because it's energy that comes from the heart. The words go into the air. What does air do? It revives you. Okay. Then you use the water. What does water do? We can't live with that. Stay close. Do not show anything else, please? Nat, would you come back close in on me? Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm going to raise this up when I pour it. So we're using water, and then in this is supposed to be earth. And what does earth do? Earth grows things. So you have all of those powers working when you pour libation, and you must tell the truth, because it won't work if you embellish or if you say something that's not true. So first, we thank the Mighty One. We thank the power that made us all, that gave us our first dignity as the parents of humanity, and as the God people say, tra, omaniaba, tra. Let the spirit of our ancestors be with us today. Let it guide us, let it empower us, all of their wisdom coming out of us today, sharing with you at home. And you at home, call out the names of some of your ancestors or somebody who gave you something that made you stronger, that opened your spirit, that's made your mind become more investigative. So we thank the great Creator. We thank our ancestors, those strong people, those bad people, those people who loved us more than they loved themselves. They gave their lives and their fortunes for us. So we thank them. Great-grandma Rebecca, I thank my mother, my father, all of my sisters and brothers, those who have gone on to the next level of life. And then I thank all of those people, yes, who have brought us this far. Some of them have passed on recently. And so we have to call out their names at home. Thank you. Then we have to acknowledge that there are those who do not want us to be our true selves, our full selves. And they work endlessly against us doing so. And I say, let their plotting and planning go back to them and not come to us. Because we are the mothers and fathers of humankind. Can't nothing change that. Accept it, walk with it, talk with it. You know what I'm saying? When you dance, dance like you're the mama of the world. And you are. You're the father of the world. And you are. And talk to your family. I thank the great Creator for giving us life, for sustaining our lives, for making us the mother and father of humankind. We thank you. And we will live up to that gift. Ashe, yao, 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 yao. Thank you. Now, since our guest didn't make it today, you see arrayed all around me a lovely setting. I must tell you, I came in late, rushing, not feeling very well, and because I have such a tremendous crew here, they put this together. Look at it. Let's look. See? Now, what is it? And why did I bring it here today? Woo! Every day we get up and we hear the news, what's going on in the world. We walk the streets and we see a person of my age. We see our young people and many of our elders acting in ways that we never did before, with great disrespect for one another, for not even being aware of how we feel. We're just doing our thing. Last week, like 40 some odd people were shot, young people, shot in Chicago. That's my hometown. I think maybe 4 or 5 of them died. The others were just shot. When I was there before, it was 60 some odd people were shot. Young people. Here in New York and across this country, our young people are killing each other. Why is that? This is something new. Because I'm an artist in the tradition, I have to be aware and accountable to my community. That's my job. So if I write a poem, it has to be something that inspires, something that helps, something that brings love, it brings some new information. That's what has to happen. So my work reflects that. Now I have to right my microphone so that you can hear me better. I hope that's better. I have these beads on and they conflict with them once in a while. I think that's better. Is that better? Okay. So I'm brought here today some of my covers and pictures of books that I have written, some photographs from when I was part of the Catherine Dunham Dance Company some years ago. And I'll talk to you about each one of them if I can get through it, if I have the time, because this is a sort of a short version since I had to put it in place. Where shall I start? One of the focuses of my writing had to do with, I started with the hair, because for some reason, namely the name of the reason is racism, and the experience we have come through as people, where our image has been degraded and laughed at and made something that's we shouldn't like, where many of our men now have been convinced that they should go bald-headed, again erasing the African part of them that is obvious. And sometimes when you look at a brother or a sister, mainly brothers with their hair cut off, you don't know, is he African or is he Asian or what? It's like we are disappearing in front of each other, in plain view. Our sisters they think that they have to have the long hair. Now, I'm saying this coming out of the 60s, you understand, where we treated our hair, we were ashamed of it, we covered it, yes, we had the wigs, and we were straightening and burning our necks and burning our ears with the hot combs because we had to look a certain way. And then the 60s came, and we said, why am I doing this? You know, I don't want to look like those people. Why should I want to look like those people? I should look like myself. And we went through, people were fired from their jobs because they came in one day with a fro, or they came in with cornrows. And then there was a glorious time. But over time, when people want to get to you, they have different ways of getting to your brain and to your mind. And so now we think that if we are going to look good, we have to look like other people. We have to have the long straightened hair. Now I'm saying in Africa, our people wore their hair in different ways. They didn't have extensions, but they put things on their hair which made it long. So if you wear your hair, keeping in mind something traditional, the way you wear it, then that is fine. But if you wear it because you want to look like white folk, then that is something else. It's out of yourself. It's not you. And also, our music now doesn't even speak to our culture. It speaks to somebody else's culture. Who buys most of the music where we call each other dogs and hoes and bitches and niggers and all of that? Most of that music actually is bought by white youth. You hear what I'm saying? It's not even all of it. Most of it is not bought by our children. It's bought by white youth in order to make them have a feeling of badness. I'm bad, I'm in there, I'm in all of this stuff. Just like when our jazz musicians, some of them would be involved in smoking weed. Some of the white musicians said, oh, if I'm going to play well, I got to smoke weed. So they would get high and get stoned on weed, trying to get the gifts that we have. And then many of our young people died. Some of our greatest musicians died early because they had gone through that drug thing and it had destroyed their bodies. So we have to, as much as we can, hold on to the wisdom and the strength of our culture. What did the FBI do some years ago during the movement when they had one brother called Othello who was a spy for the FBI? And he joined a lot of our cultural organizations. And he would report on what he heard, on what he saw, on what we were doing. And so the brother Othello couldn't stand it anymore. He felt like a traitor. what did he do? He began to tell what he was doing for the FBI. And one day, his handler took him through the offices of the FBI building in Washington. And as they were walking down the hall, the brother looked and he saw a whole section and he said, "What are they doing over there?" All men going into files and typing and doing everything. And his handler told him, "That's black culture they're studying." The brother said, "What? Why are you studying black culture?" FBI said, "Well, you know, if you know a people's culture, you can use it against them. This is on record. Gil Nobles Like It Is has a tape. I have a tape of it at home where the brother was saying, this is what he told me. If you know people's culture, you can use it against them. What our culture, part of our culture, is music. We love music. We can do music. We're great artists in that area. So what do? If you want to control a people, you get control of their music, you get control of their dance, you get control of their language, and you twist it. And so we are saying things now that we never said before. We're degrading one another with our language that we never did before. We're dressing in ways that we would now. In Africa, sometimes people don't have very much clothing on because it's so hot. And they danced, but it was with a certain kind of relationship. It wasn't crude, vulgar, I'm going to do this, I'm going to bust you, I'm going to do, it's not that. Our culture has been turned around, so it's destructive to us. Well, adults, we know better because we saw it when it was helpful. In the 60s, our music, we got down, we threw down James Brown, Sex Machine and all of that. That's good. But that's not what I'm talking about. He never, in his work, never degraded with his language. He never called in his music somebody a hoe or a bitch or a dog. Never. That's not our culture. It's somebody else's culture that's been imposed upon us. And there was a documentary about how someone who was in the world of hip hop, for some reason, let's guess what it was, went to the world of pornography, and hired one of their directors to come into the world of hip hop and began directing their videos. So he brought his women with him. And then it became a thing about tits and asses. All of that was brought into hip hop. We didn't do that at the beginning of hip hop. It was not there. So it was intentionally introduced in, as part of our genius of our young people who created hip hop, was then perverted into something that's now all you do is call each other names and talk about what I'm wearing, what I'm buying. That was not us. And we adults who sit back and listen to it need to get up and do something about it. That's the next generation. We brought our people this far. The last generation brought our people this far. And now an intervention has occurred so that the goodness that we brought coming out of the civil rights movement with music that was inspiring and uplifting has been changed, and now it's degrading. You at home, grown-ups, know better, and we're not doing it. We're saying, well, they're young people, they do this. You were young, but did you say that when you were young? Did you say those kind of things about women and about men? Did you display your body the way there was something on the Facebook the other day, 2 pictures, one of Queen Latifah when she was Queen Latifah, when she had her crown and she was talking about being dignified and all of that. Next to her was a picture of little Kim, all spread out, showing everything. And they said within 15 years we've gone from this to that. Kim is in hip hop too, but I hate to even bring them together. So at any rate, I, as a Jali in the tradition of our homeland, as one who uses culture to inform, to inspire, I said, let me bring some evidence here just to show you, the kind of things the depth that we need to go through. First, they're loving pictures. I went to our hair, I went to cornrows because I was tired of seeing our women cover up and hide our hair. Our hair is coiled. Stop using that word kinky. It has a negative connotation. Our hair is coiled, and that's fine. I need to give more attention to mine. I need to have somebody with me always to do it because I get busy and don't pay enough attention. But I wrote a book called Cornrows. And within 6 months of its publication, it was sold out. Sold out because our people needed to have information about who we were, about our hair, about what it meant, what the braids meant. And so it was published in 1979. Yesterday I received a letter from the publisher saying that they were not going to publish it anymore because it wasn't selling well enough. It's a classic. Other people have classics that go on forever because they realize the importance of the work. And so we have to, as a people, begin to treat our artists and our work, and I'm not talking about me in particular, but all artists who give you something that's positive. We have to keep it. You know, we have great actors, and now there's some on Broadway doing European classics. Why aren't they there doing our classics? Where are our classics? It's a head thing. We have to really begin to appreciate ourselves in a different way. And so I wrote the book Cornrows, and now it's very pleasing to me when someone comes and says, I'm getting this for my granddaughter, because their mother purchased it for them, and they loved it and learned from it. They gave it to their daughter, and their daughter gave it to their daughter, so it's a generational love and wisdom that was passed down. I hope you can get it. They have it at the Schomburg Library. They have, I'll talk to you later about my CDs. They have them at Human Bookstore. But our hair is very important. We have to love our hair again. We have to appreciate the integrity of what the great Creator gave us. Gave us our hair, gave us our hips. Everybody's trying to get our booties now. You understand? They used to laugh at us about it. Now everybody wants a butt. Everybody running around trying to put stuff back there to make them look as ours look, having been given that great asset naturally. So enjoy what you are. Appreciate who you are, people, please. The hair we can start with. Cornrows, it had a social significance. It told, in Nigeria, I'm talking about right now in particular, it told if you were married, if you were single. It told if you'd gone through your first menses period for women. It told, what level of society you were on. It told a lot. And when you wore your hair that way, now people have T-shirts and stuff with stuff written all over it. We invented that years ago, but it was on our bodies. Some of it was on marks that we had on our faces. And that was rough, but it proved that you were strong. Also, some of those cuts had to do with inoculation because they didn't have what we have here and all that medicine and all that research and stuff, but they had learned centuries before, if they incise something they cut here, they would have particular herbs that they would rub in it, which would then heal and cause your body to become stronger. So that came from a long, long, long time ago. Now, hair again. Enjoy your hair, people. Enjoy your hair. Cornrows, it's still, if I have copies of it. If you wanted to get it, you go to Human, or if you go to Schomburg and buy what they have. If not, get in touch with me on my Facebook. But Camille Yarbrough at gmail.com, and I'll see that you can get copies of it. Camille Yarbrough at gmail.com. You can get all my books and everything. So that's cornrows. But if you can, I don't know if the cameras can go down here to see the relationship of the, when women, it's not just for women, by the way. Men had all kinds of elaborate hair styles. And here you can see at the bottom, I remember when Mama was doing my hair, and we would discuss things as I'm sitting down there between her knees. And you see what I'm talking about? That's back and forth. That's mother-daughter. Now many of our people go to the beauty parlor and get their hair braided. But that's another distance that comes in. We shouldn't do that. We need to, it's nice to go to the beauty parlor, but you need mother-child time together also. So let's try that again. Let's do it again with Mama and the child and getting the hair braided and talking about growing up. I remember, what did I ask my mama? Where do babies come from? The room got silent. What? Why is this child? It must have been about 7, talking about where the babies come from. But that was our time together to talk. We're losing too much of that because many times the kids got stuff in their ears and they're listening and popping and not talking. So cornrows has great value in that way. Then I wrote articles for Black Collegian magazine. Cornrows is spirit force. Understand that when our people were brought here, they were stripped naked. They were branded. Many times their hair was cut, but all kinds of culturally identifiable jewelry was taken off of them. One thing they couldn't take, though, was the hair. And sometimes, there is a story about the ship which talks about how one woman tried to secrete her child on that ship. She had braided her hair in a certain style and thought the ship would go back. And when the ship went back, they would identify the child by the style of the hair. But when you do that, when you share with your child and when you're braiding the hair, again, it's a time of bonding. So it's that spirit that comes out, and you talk about your life. You talk about being a mother. You talk about relationships. You talk about growing up. There are many things you can discuss, but it's that love that comes out when you're braiding the hair. And I love seeing these young children with their hair braided so beautifully. I hope, though, that they have some connection with the person who's braiding it, who gives them some culture that goes along with it, and knows that they have to carry that hair a certain way. You can't be fighting in the street with your hair braided. It doesn't go together. It's not supposed to be there. So that was the first book I wrote, Cornrows. And then after that, I was asked if I could write some more children's books. I had no intention of writing children's books because I was writing grown-up, serious, I don't want to say problems, but, the tensions that we have and the stresses. And so I had written and I don't even see it here. It's not here. I wrote some poetry, and it became an album, my first album, which became later a CD. And it was called The Iron Pot Cooker. Why the Iron Pot Cooker? Again, tradition. Some places, women, doctors, female doctors in Nigeria, again. When they traveled to different villages, they carried an iron pot. And in that iron pot, they had herbs and all of the things they would use to heal. And since my work is used to help us heal from the terror that brought us here and that's still with us, I was the iron pot cooker. So that's where that name came from. And you understand that also when the iron pot, you season that pot over as you cook in it, things go in it so that everything becomes richer when you use the iron pot. But unfortunately, I don't have a Oh, right there. Wax Poetics, a magazine called Wax Poetics, did a review of the Iron Pot Cooker. It was a marvelous review. It's a great album, I have to say it myself. The songs in it deal with But It Comes Out Mad, generational pain handed down. Sometimes people have had pain in their lives and they didn't deal with it. They have families, then they bring that pain into their family, and the children suffer, the wife suffers, the husband suffers, and then the children grow up and they bring it into their family. So we have to stop the generational pain from become generational. And so I dealt with that. It was called But It Comes Out Mad. Classic. In that, there was also a song called Take Your Praise. I did have a concession. The song was written to black men. The song was written because it was during the movement time and we were moving this country. And I wanted to look at our men who were really getting the brunt, being shot, being beaten up, as the women were, but mostly the men, because the men were usually out front. And I wanted to say to them, we've come a long, long way together through the hard time and the good. I want to celebrate you, brother man. I want to praise you like I should. I did a little concession. I said, we've come a long, long way together through the hard time and the good. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. That song, though, you see, you do something and you never know how it's going to be used. 20 years later, that song, having been heard by a Englishman, one of those electronic musicians, sampled it, and it became a song called Praise You. And it became an international hit, huge. I said, thank you. All I could say was thank you. But, yes, it's been used in films, it's been used for commercials, but people call me, and brothers will say to me, because now I sing it with that brother man, not just baby. And it's about giving praise, and we have to give praise to each other because we have come a long, long way together through the hard time and the good. So I want to celebrate my people. I want to praise you like I should. That's what the song is about, and that's on the Iron Pot Cooker. But I also deal with what? With imprisonment. Can I get a witness to how our men are imprisoned in ridiculous numbers, and our women increasingly so, and why? What happens to your family when you're in jail? What happens to the children and the wife? So all of that is there, but there's some good stuff, also some positive stuff there, also some happy kind of thing. But this is what artists are supposed to do. They're supposed to deal with what's happening in the community. We have to check our artist people. Just because they're on the stage, it shouldn't be an ego trip. That's not what it's supposed to be about. You're supposed to be there not to inspire people. Now we have people, good singers. Why does Toni Braxton have to be involved in doing almost pornographic work? Even Usher up there simulating sex on the stage. What is this? Come on, people. That is not us. We have to change it. The artist has so much power. We're going to, this picture, can you go over there, Winston, to the top photograph there. I had the great honor of being part of the Catherine Dunham Dance Company. That one right there, right at the top.
The group picture?
Yes, the group picture. It's got a highlight on. You can't see it very well. There was a great artist, griot, called Catherine Dunham. You see, our culture was said to be no culture. The philosophy, the thoughts were that black people didn't have any culture, although European Americans were stealing it by the bucketful. But we didn't have any culture. Our dance was low class. Our music was devil music. Believe me, this is what we lived with growing up. And then people would come, like Catherine Dunham, would come and study our culture, then bring it back to us with its power, with its beauty, with its strength. That's what she did. She broke it down, then she brought it back to the community and put it on the stage with its dignity. There was no shuffling in Catherine Dunham's company. There was no asa and shaking the head. There was no, it just didn't happen. She wouldn't allow it. So she raised our culture up. I had the honor of being part of that company for 5 years and teaching her technique. So that's where an artist used their culture to lift our people. When they were traveling around the world in this country, when her family came to see her in concert, big concert hall, her family was not allowed to sit downstairs. They had put them up in the balcony. She said, no, we don't do a show until my family and my people come downstairs. And that kind of thing went on across the country. When I was with her country, we went to Las Vegas. This was in the 50s. Yep. We couldn't stay at the hotel, this big hotel where we were working. As a matter of fact, we had to stay across town, go under this viaduct in this bus, get off of the bus. There were no street lights. We had to hold each other on the shoulder because we were not allowed to stay on the strip in Las Vegas. None of the big stars, they had to fight for that. It's supposed to be your right. There were no dressing rooms in the hotel. They had like a little van outside, so we dressed out there. She had a hard time, but at the same time she was doing that, the government was on her case for taxes. I'm writing it right now in the book. It's tragic, it's funny, and it's tragic. But she survived, and she changed because she was an artist. She had that power. She was on the stage, as many of our artists are on the stage now. But she was not ego-tripping on that stage. She was raising our culture. I'm very grateful to her, Catherine Dunham, and all that she produced. People who come, when you see dance on Broadway, most of it is because she took the African dance and broke it down into pieces. How do you move here? How do you isolate? How do you use your arm? What was all of this about? The contraction, the release, all of that came from her school, which she started here in New York City. Had never been a school like that before. And also a lot of white dancers came who became leading choreographers they were on Broadway because they went to her school. And many of our dancers now, including Alvin Ailey, were influenced by what she did. So that's what artists do. That's what I do. Let me see. Now, after the Iron Pot Cooker, I did a lot of shows down in the village at used to be Joe Papp's Public Theater, black plays. Then I did To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. Do I have anything on here from To Be Young, Gifted, and Black? I don't think so. But during that time, there was something else moving in me. It was spirit. We are a spirit-driven people, and we have to have time to recognize that. Sometimes we get so busy in making a way and being influenced by this media, which dominates our lives, that we don't let the inner part of us come out, the spirit part come out. We survived because of the spirituality that we brought here from the motherland. That's how we survived those ships and the horrors of enslavement. And we have to recognize it. Some of our people do. All of those people who made a difference had that quality in them. And so after a while, that spirit began to speak more and more to me. And so my work began to reflect that. That's where I started pouring libation. But let me go again in Black Collegian magazine. That's where I wrote about our dance and what we brought here when we came stripped naked. Our gifts were inside. We didn't have anything on the outside, but our gifts were inside. And when you look at all of these dance shows today, most of what they're doing is African dance broken up and little pieces, but it's our culture, and we have to claim it. We have to say, yes, this is what we brought here. What Europeans brought here was the mazurk and other kinds of dancing, but it looked nothing like what's happened. Even the Irish, when they brought the jig here, it was limited in the amount of moves that they did. Their closeness to the African and the African observing them here changed what they do. Now you see them have big shows, the Irish jig and clog dancing and all of that. And then they always somehow put a little African man in there dancing around. We did so much of their dance and did it better that we were called what? Jigs. They used to call black people jigs because we danced so well. And they had a contest, and the dancers would be on the stage, and the judges would be under the stage listening to the taps of the tap dancers and judging. They didn't see them, supposedly. They just heard the rhythms, and they would judge. And it was always this brother whose name just jumped out of my head. At any rate, look around you. You need to say, yes, we brought this to this country. Claim it like other people claim it. Europeans claim opera. They claim a lot of ballet. But if you go back further enough, it all comes out of Africa. And that's the truth. Okay, so here you see me pouring libation. Libation is a form of oral literature, if you will. It covers everything. There's no subject that you don't get in libation, but it's always used to uplift our people. Here, the little tree growing in the shade has to do with our music again, because I had to let our young people know that they are part of a long line of genius people who created music here in America. We brought with us generations, centuries of music, technique, style, content, all of that. And although we had been stripped of everything, we created a new form of music here called spirituals. Negro spirituals, they called them. First new form of music created in America was our music that we were called Negro spirituals. All the musical forms have been influenced by that music, whether it be blues, jazz, rag, hip hop, whatever. Europeans came over here and studied it, took it back home to their countries. Take what's yours. Claim what's yours. Don't let people, right now, you see all kinds of things going on. We have always been the teachers, and we have to claim that. On this side, let me go to the Shimmy Shine Queens. For a while, I was working for Jazzmobile, which is a company here which has to do with supporting the art form called jazz. And I was hired to go into the schools, public schools, and work with young people, bringing them drama. It was actually storytelling. I was so shocked when I went into the schools. First, they were so noisy. The children, the decibel level was terribly high. The children were screaming and hollering and running and kicking and fighting and doing Bruce Lee movements. And the first day I came in, there was a little boy being chased almost by a teacher, and he turned around, called her the B word, hit her hand. And I'm saying, what? This is school? And when I went to my classrooms, I had to collect certain children who had signed up for this program to come down to my classroom, and there we were supposed to go into drama. But getting them from that room to my room, I had to be a policewoman. Then when they were in the room, they never stopped moving, never stopped talking, never stopped shouting, never stopped fighting. It took me the whole session to get them to sit down and be quiet, and by that time the bell rang and it was time to go. So I said I had to do something, and I did something. I brought them, I had a huge suitcase, full of African clothing and jewelry and all kinds of artifacts. And then I had a carved stool, Ghanaian stool, beautiful Sankofa stool. Reach back and fetch what is yours if it's powerful and use it today. And the day I brought that in and I brought them down to the room and they ran in and I thought, oh God, they're going to tear up the clothing. And they didn't. They stopped and they looked and they said, you brought this for us? I said, yes. And then I had to explain what each item was, and they listened and they were quiet. They changed because they said, this is what African, this is what we do? Yes. This is part of your ancestry, your culture. Culture, if you have your culture, it brings you peace. You are strengthened by your culture. And so this is what I did in the Shimmer Shine Queens. And it had to do with the family. The mother and father had separated. What happens to the children? How do they feel when there's divorce in the family? Little Angie had to go through that because she loved her father, but her father was gone. And her best friend, Michelle, helped her. So it's about friendship. It's about bullying because they had to fight off the bullies in the class. So all of that is in the books, and how they survived, how they were victorious over all of that. So children have gotten this book, and some of them, they hold it, they take it to bed with them. They won't let it go because it deals with who they are. And this is what we have to do. Our young people need us. They need guidance. We cannot sit back looking at television, going to the movies, going to parties, going on cruises, whole big ships, cruise ships, taking us out while our prisons are filling up. The vote is being taken away from us. Our children are being, what do they call it when they stop them on the street and start frisking them, patting them down and everything. You cannot sit in front of, many of our children cannot sit in front of their own building before the police come and say, what are you doing? Get up. Where are they going to go? Then they go in the halls and the police come in the halls and try to arrest them for doing something. When the schools, you have to go to schools, you're going to be patted down and go through the machine to see if you have weapons. This is what our world has come to, and we have to stop it. Adults, you adults sitting at home, we have to stop it. Our children don't know any better. They never experienced the greatness, the changes that we came through in the civil rights movement. We have to tell them. That's the importance of telling our story. It is power, people. Power. Take it back. Last time I did a presentation, I welcomed the audience, and then I said to them, good evening, shipmates. Some of them began to laugh because they understood that we had been brought here on the ships, slave ships. We had greatness before that, but we were brought here on slave ships. And some of those people who were on those slave ships remembered what had happened to them, remembered how they were brought here. And after they were on the land, sometimes even after they had been freed, they remembered and they told one another how they survived. They told one another that they did not let their spirit down, that they passed on the story to the new people so they'd know that this world is not easy. Freedom ain't free. So I, as an artist, that's my job. I'm supposed to tell the true story. I'm supposed to show the strength and the greatness of our people. That's what artists are supposed to do. Even if you're Beyonce, even if you're shaking it, okay? But you have it with a certain dignity. We have never been afraid of moving our bodies. But you use it in a certain way, and this society will take you into something that you shouldn't, into porno world. So we have to guard against that. So that was Shimmer Shine Queens. These young sisters survived it with the help of a teacher, with the help of the mother, with the help of people who cared about them. We're supposed to be the people who care about our young people, and we're just letting them go. Oh, this world says don't discipline your children, and we don't, and the police do. We can't do that anymore. We had I was raised by people, by parents. Thank God I had two. But they loved us. Sometimes we got a whooping. It's true. But they didn't do it to kill us. They didn't do it to hurt us. They do it to say, no, you don't do that, because I'll give you a whipping, but out there they will kill you. And so we learned discipline. We learned to watch. We learned to respect. We learned empathy with other people. That was Shimmershine Queens. Tamika and the Wisdom Ring. People passing on wisdom to their children, because it's hard when you are impacted by this community. You have to have guides. And so the mothers gave them 3 rings to guide them about self-respect, about dignity, about holding on to your value system. What is our value system? What are we passing on to our young people today? We're going to bring the National Guard in to stop the violence in our community? No, we have to stop it. When crack was introduced to our families, to our people, and it caused a destruction that we had never seen before, some of our families were just broken apart and they never recovered. Grandmothers had to come and raise children, raise their grandchildren. There were groups of grandmothers across the country, all across the country. They had to come together to save us. And they were tired, and many of our children never got the guidance that we had. So now you grown-ups, we have to do it again. Harriet Tubman, when asked, what are you going to do now, Harriet, after she had brought people up out of enslavement? What are you going to do, Harriet? She said, I'm going to do it again. Well, we had a civil rights movement. We have to do it again. We have to do it again, people. Our families are suffering too much. And it's not just here, it's international. The rights that Adam Clayton Powell, he had 68 laws that he had forced through, if you will, to be accepted by this country in Washington. Now, the Tea Party and all those other people are bit by bit taking them back, trying to take them back. They don't want us to vote, so they're creating all kinds of constructions to stop us from registering. I'm saying this, people, because we are in some danger, a lot of danger, and we have to do it now. We have to change our world, but it has to happen with the family. Stop going to parties, stop drinking so much, stop eating so much. Yes, I'm saying I'm critical, because we have to change our behavior. This world has changed. There was a time when they said, oh, yes, we treated them badly, so now we have to treat them better. They don't care no more. They know that if we are free, we are the best. And we have to know that. And we have to treat our young people differently and let them know that they belong to us and that we love them and that what we say to them is to help them. And then we have to treat each other better, because we have some wounds. I thank you for being here at Ancestor House today. You know this show is not supposed to be, but my guest, Professor James Small, who also has so much information to share with us, he could not make it. And so we put this together to bring you information about how I, as an artist, have been driven by spirit to work for our people, for our family. Thank you for greeting me in the street. And I hope that, and let me mention that Canaan Baptist Church the other day, I was going by and they had flyers which said that they were having a conference about the violence in our young people. And I went inside, the place was full, mainly with elders. Young people should have been there too. But I thank Canaan for doing that. I applaud them for doing that. We have to have more of that. And it can't just be a meeting. We need action. Thank you for being here. I don't know how much time I have. Winston, how much time I have? 1 minute? Okay, thank you. I want to thank my crew here at MNN for putting this all together at the last minute. I want to thank David and Nat and Ella and Winston. This is the first time we've been together for about a whole month. And I want to applaud them and MNN for having programs where you can speak truth. Speak truth. We are the power, and we are the power speaking truth to those who want the power. What did Frederick Douglass say? Power concedes nothing without struggle. So we struggling. You struggle too. I'll see you the next time. Also, Human Bookstore. If you want this kind of information, you can get my CDs at Human Bookstore. You can get them at Shakulu's Record Show, which is on 8th Avenue between 126 and 127. Shakulu needs to be supported. He's a Zulu man, big Zulu man who's been in our community for a long time, bringing truth and goodness and light. So I thank you, and I'll see you next week with more of Family Story, the African story, the power story, and you need to tell it at home. Thank you.
We must learn and tell our story, heal the pain and raise the glory. Tell it. We must learn and tell our story, heal the pain and raise the glory. Tell it. Not to know the family story is bad. Not to want to know it is worse. For to pass on ignorance to someone is like, it's like passing on a curse. And it will curse your father, curse your mother, curse your sister, curse your brother. And every time you come close to one another, it will be there in between to separate and instigate. We must learn and tell our story. We must learn and tell our story for ourselves. No one else can learn and tell it for us. We must learn and tell our story for ourselves.